All right, everyone. Probably we might kick off. Thanks, everyone, for coming tonight. Welcome to the Community Council. This will be the last meeting for this year. It's so quick that we are in December, and that's very interesting. So welcome, everyone. If you're joining us for the first time, special welcome to you. And if you're joining on the social media, welcome to Gungahlin Community Council public meeting for the December 2022. I do have my members from the executive. I have Vice President with me, Ralitza. I've got a public officer, Darren, and our Secretary Shah with us today. And we have quite a jam-packed agenda. So I'll go on to the next slide to show us exactly what we want to do today. Yep. So, and just if you're not aware of this, this is streaming live on Facebook. So when you are able to ask questions and stuff, you may not appear on the video, but your voice and stuff will be streaming online, and then the video will be recorded as well. And if you haven't followed us on social media, please follow us so that you get updates about what's happening in your region. Next slide, please. So today, from the GCC news, you're all aware of 10 News. So same thing with the GCC news. We're going to talk about the new planning bill, and then we have a draft response to the district planning. We're going to talk about the Gungahlin Town Centre stakeholder engagement, which we had with the SLA previously. And then the JACA Stage 2, which is a new thing, which just been released yesterday. And then upcoming Tram Square developments, and today we're going to talk about what we know so far. And then we're going to talk about the Arabi Pond, what's happening around Arabi Pond. And speakers for tonight will be the Gungahlin Marketplace Development Update. Phil is here with us, and Gungahlin Town Centre East Placemaking. We have people from SLA, Nicole and Andrew. Thank you for coming today. Draft Gungahlin District Strategy. We will be talking about draft Gungahlin, our response to the draft Gungahlin District Strategy in detail as well. All right, let's move on to the next one. If you haven't known my name is Henley Samuel. Let's go on to the next one. So the new planning bill. So if this is the first time, probably you might want to get notice of the new planning bill. It's a component. Planning bill is a component of the new planning system, and we strongly believe that it should not be approved until the other components, such as the new draft territory plan and then the draft strategies, they have to work out those things before finalizing the new planning system. I might ask someone to close the door. Yeah. Thank you. And then these components need to interact with the planning bill before it's get finalized. And we also believe that it needs to be subject to the full public and independent expert scrutiny. So at this stage, the planning bill, needs a lot of work to be done. And the one more thing as well, we all know the land in ACT, it's like a gold, and it's the greatest natural resource that we all have, and we need to have a good stewardship for that one. So it appears to be the planning bill has too much power in the hands of one person or one kind of team, rather than it's been consulted with wider area. At the moment, it looks like the chief planner will have all the bells and whistles. So we think there should be a better checks and balance to manage governance risk and to restore the confidence and trust in the planning system. These all things we learned from the past mistakes. So we want to be very cautious with the planning bill. And also there was an inquiry conducted in the planning bill, and then GCC submitted a submission, and also we appeared in the assembly in front of the planning committee and made our say as well. We also collaborated with the other community councils. So we have the Warden Community Council, Molongong, Belcon, and Taganong. Western Creek. So we all worked with the other councils to ensure the new planning bill is not approved until the governance, clarity, and the community engagement concerns have been addressed. So we also did a media release along with the other community councils. So it's up on the internet. You are welcome to view that as well. Thank you. So in the response to the draft district planning, we do have a separate presentation at the end of the meeting. So I will just highlight on the eye level. While it's encouraging to see there is an emphasis for the future employment opportunities in the town centre, but the proposed initiatives on the draft district planning bill, it's all about the analysis. It doesn't show how it's going to be implemented or what kind of approach or method they're going to use. And there should be a serious consideration of the north side hospital for Gungahlin by they should consider having a hospital in the Gungahlin side, especially while they are talking about the hospital in the north side. And we also identified, and even the government's own assessment identified, there's a shortfall in the community facilities in Gungahlin. Our concern is that this is just a strategy, and what is required is a significant investment, and we don't see that at the moment. Also, there is considering the increase in the density of institutions, schools, and high-rise building around Taylor and Casey and the region, we do welcome the plan to investigate on the rapid transport between the group centres, between Casey, Moncrief, Amaru, and now it's going to be the Taylor stage 2 as well going to come through. So it'd be worth investigating on those ones. And also there is an urgent need for Gungahlin to be connected to the other southern districts. At the moment, Gungahlin is not connected to all the regions. So people may say we have the light rail on our doorsteps, but it's yes and no. It depends on where you live, and we don't have public transport connecting to the southern districts. Say, for example, we can't get to Tuggeranong or Warden directly. And there's a proposal of a large-scale retirement community and aged care facility on Block 348, Gungahlin Homestead site. That is a very encouraging news, and because it's an essential thing that we need in Gungahlin, not just in Gungahlin, it would also support the wider community in Canberra. That's about that. Gungahlin Town Centre stakeholder engagement regarding the east side, the Gungahlin East precinct. We had a discussion with SLA maybe 4 or 5 weeks back, and thank you for that. So the couple of things what we highlighted was the preservation of the remaining 100,000 square meters of the original 200 square meters of commercial office space. So we originally had 200, but it now reduced to 100 square meter, but we need to make sure that 100 square meters at least been saved. And also the result of the DVA 364 inquiry for the Gungahlin Town Centre pertaining to the Gungahlin East precinct. So we just want to make sure we secure those commercial plays. It is important to emphasize that the undersupply of commercial land in that area is caused by the land being converted. The undersupply of commercial land happened because most of the land being converted from the community and commercial to the use of the residential use. So most of our commercial land's been sold and taken as a residential usage. So we just need to be made aware of that. And there's an underlying reasoning for the 2010 recommendation to reserve land in the east for commercial use was to address this problem. This was formerly known as the Orvis Core, but now referred as the Gungahlin East precinct. So that's about our engagement, and this is the hot news. Jacka Stage 2. The construction will begin this month and continue until the middle of 2024. And this will be all new electric suburb, which include approximately 700 single-family homes, multi-unit homes, as well as commercial space. And we also made a point that Jacka 2 will have public transport, unlike Jacka 1, where we can't drive our buses inside the suburbs. So that will be, hopefully it will be solved. So next one, this is the interesting development that's happening. that's going to happen. We haven't had a chance to get the presentation from the developer, but they said they will be coming early next year, so looking forward to those presentations. So from what we know so far, the Block 4 Section 12, which is actually located in around the Ibiston Street and facing the Kate Christ Street. So this is next to the DHA side. So in general, we are not against any developments. We are actually for the development. More commercial and retail spaces would be beneficial to the town center. And we want to, but at this stage, we don't know what kind of business entity would occupy those places in that complex. And what we learned was this retail space in this project is not integrated with the cinema spaces or the DHA, which is kind of a bit sad, but we want to find out what exactly it is. So this basically divided into 3 different separate units, each of it being treated as separately. And the general idea is that there will be more smaller tenancies facing Ibiston Street and the tram, whereas the larger tenancies would face the Kate Christ Street. So we would find out more information on the next Gungahlin Community Council meeting. Probably we will get a developer to present us with more details on this one. Thank you. So the Arabi Fund, it looks like very fun at the moment and not looking good. The water quality and algae seems to be going, and then you can see the bench view. It's not great as well. It looks like not a great spot for families and stuff. But I would like to call Darren to give us more insight on what's happening around Arabi Pond. Darren, thank you.
Yeah, so one of the big problems with Yarraby Pond at the moment is the nitrates in the water. So basically that's from all of the waste and things like that, the leaves and stuff that's been washed into the ponds. So it's not just an algae problem at the moment. I mean, Yarraby Pond is a water settlement pond, and we do realise that. So the algae is actually sort of doing its job to some extent, but there are other options. So the government has actually got a floating wetlands that's actually been rolled out, similar to what's currently existing in Lake Tuggeranong. It's a little bit late, probably should have been in about April, and they're only just starting to roll it out now, but I'm confident in the fact that hopefully in the future the floating wetlands might have an effect on some of that algal blooms that's in there in order to make the area a bit tidier. We've got a few campaigns going on at the moment in order to see whether or not we can get some maintenance in the area upgraded, the lawns mowed, the business district looked after a bit better, just to sort of tidy up the ponds, and hopefully we can have some significant gains there. It looks like in the future there'll be some new toilet facilities that are built there, and some more lighting will go in. We're still monitoring those at the moment, but things are going ahead at Yarraby Ponds. We're just making sure that holistically the ponds are looked after, water quality as well as the general maintenance in the area is maintained. So things are looking good, but we're still putting a little bit of pressure on the government in order to make sure that this area is better looked after in general. Thanks.
Thanks, Darren. On 30th of November, we all stood as a community. As a GCC, we went and stood along with the Gungahlin community, along with the Canberra wider region. We remember the lives that was lost in the incident at the Arabi Pond, which happened we all went on the 13th of November. And I think that's from the community news space. So I will probably hand over to the presentation now. So if you have any questions or anything, we will take it, or we will take it at the later end. Thanks, mate. Over to you.
Do I read the slides, or I just say change slide?
Yeah, just
okay. Yeah. No, that's the wrong one. That's 15. That's one I just gave you.
This is the one we pasted from there. Stage 3. No?
Was it?
Yeah.
I must have downloaded the wrong file. Sorry.
Do you want to try again and see whether there's another file?
It's alright. I'll just have to do an update.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is a old one, was it?
Yeah, that's an old one, so don't worry about that one.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. My name's Philip Next. I'm the Development Manager working on Marketplace Gungahlin. I've just been asked to give you an update on how the construction process is going at the centre. And what I'll do, I haven't got any photos tonight, but I'll send through some photos to the Community Council for you to put up your website. So in terms of construction, we started back in February this year, and construction's been going very well, considering Gungahlin's had record rain this year, which has been a bit unfortunate. And we're up to, at this stage, is that the centre is programmed to open in July next year. Construction, in terms of the major tenants and leasing, the project's actually about 98% leased. There's only one shop to go, which is quite a good result. As you've probably already seen the signage in the centre that Audi is moving into a larger format tenancy, so they'll go into their largest format store. Chemist Warehouse is opening their largest format store, so that'll be the largest Chemist Warehouse in the ACT, of just over 1,000 square metres. There's a large Asian supermarket of 1,000 square metres opening up, an Indian supermarket opening up, a big Indian restaurant opening up, Bed Bath and Table is committed. So the retail mix is very service-based and convenience-based. You'll see you've probably seen a lot of the construction happening upstairs. So a lot of the facade is going up at the moment. The roofing's going in at the moment. The whole mall is actually a glass roof. The glass roof's already in, so I'll send through some photos. Apologies, the wrong slide got downloaded. The bridge, so there's a bridge which is going to span Hibson Street. The Hibson Street will actually close for another month from the 15th of about the 16th of January for a month, and the bridge will actually get dropped in late January. So you'll see a lot of changes happening in January, and early next year a lot of scaffolding will have to go up in the centre to facilitate the works happening upstairs. So that's where we're pretty much up. Has anybody got any questions at all? No?
I had a question earlier on, and
Sure.
it was about when that sky bridge was going in.
Just to go and sec, Dan. Sorry.
So my question was in regards to when that sky bridge was going in, and
Yep.
you were saying it was relatively soon, and that was surprising. So that's
Yeah,
good.
so a lot of the actual bridge has been manufactured off-site. So all the structural steel, they're actually in yesterday they actually poured the concrete columns for the bridge, and the beams will get poured next week, and the actual bridge structure will actually get dropped in a 5-day process in probably about the 20th of January next year, and then you'll start seeing the glazing on the actual construction of the bridge happen around that. But I'm happy to come back in February, March and give you guys another update, and I'll send through some photos and stuff.
Do anyone have any questions, Kevin?
I noticed that Coles have managed to put in a number plate reader system on their parking.
Yep.
How are you guys going with that sort of thing?
Yeah, so we actually looked at that proposal back when we did the car park in 2015, and the main issue with the number plate recognition stuff, we don't have the Ernest Kavanagh Street entrance, we don't have enough depth for the cameras to actually read the plates.
So are you going to try and do something about that dreadful way of getting out down?
The Gozard Street, you mean?
Yeah.
Which is it reopening Gozard Street? Is that what you mean?
Yeah, the one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Gozard Street will open. It will reopen. The reason why Gozard Street had to close was actually work cover. that asked us to close it because of the scaffolding going up on the street. They were worried about a car driving to the scaffold, which if anybody's up on the scaffold, then they would have been. So that's the reason why it was closed. So the car park exit is actually opened every afternoon to clear cars out of the car park. But that most of the scaffolding is actually coming down off Gungahlin Street. So you'll see half of it's already down now, and they're progressively working to remove the other scaffolding. So that it should reopen in January. Yeah. The car park wayfinding signage is all gone in. It's got a few technical issues to sort out. So you'll see there's directions to car parking spaces within the centre now, just to try to improve the traffic flows through the car parks.
Phil, you might able to see something on the back.
Oh, yeah. That's what it's going to look like. So that's going up to the new mall from Kmart. I don't know whether you've seen this before. Probably, yeah.
That's the glass roof.
That's all the glass roof, and there's louvers going across the glass roof. The granite flooring is already started going on the Big W side, so you can actually see the granite floor going in on the Big W side of the centre. That's what I'm talking. I don't know whether you've been to the centre, but the escalators they've already been relocated in the Big W centre, so they should become operational just before Christmas. And the car park entry's already been relocated on that rooftop car park entry
So
as
the
well.
Aldi is moving eventually on the first floor, is it?
Yeah.
When are those shops due to sort of be open?
That'll be late July.
So late July,
Yeah. Well, that's what we're targeting. If it changes, I'll let you know.
and that's that
It's
Sky
going
Bridge.
across the bridge. And this tiling is actually going in right now, so most of that tiling's in now, and that new car park entry is actually already open. Right.
So how many new car spaces we're going to introduce?
There's no new car spaces going in.
There's no. So you said that this is on the last video. So there was it goes to the car space. Is it an existing one or is it?
That's the rooftop car park above Big W.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're all existing.
There was an entrance that used to be more towards the
Thermal?
women's gym.
Yeah,
Was there?
it's moved down.
Yeah, so they've
so
put
the
another
new,
entrance to it.
the new entry is actually already open.
Yeah. A lot of people don't know that car park, where that entrance is. You know, when you first come down the ramp, you go up, there's a ramp that goes up and around.
There's actually going to be signage directing people up there to Audi, to park there for Audi.
That's a good idea, because I'd be surprised how many people I've driven up there and they've gone, I didn't realise this was even here.
Yeah, it's fairly utilised, so. Great.
Any other questions? All good?
Great.
All right. Thanks,
you.
Phil.
Thank you very
Hopefully
much.
next time we'll get with the slides and early next year. Thank you very much. All right. Thanks, Phil, for the update. So next on the line is the updates from the SLA regarding the Gungahlin Town Centre East. I would like to invite the team, Nicole and Andrew team. Oh, okay. Jen and Ben. Yeah, cool. So are you going to start?
I can kick us off, and
Yeah.
then I hand the mic to these
Yeah,
guys
that's
as
right.
we
We
go
were
through.
speaking. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right. Cool. We'll get you. Yeah, there you go. It's all there.
Excellent. Thanks for having us tonight. For those of you who haven't met me, I'm Nicole Rogan. I work with the Suburban Land Agency and I look after our engagement programs over there. We've got a few staff here with us today, so a lot of you will probably recognise Andrew and David, who are sitting in the crowd tonight, who look after our greenfield development. I don't know where is the camera? Oh, there you go. There you go, cool. Sorry, technology. Look, we just wanted to come along tonight to give you a bit of an update of where we're up to with our engagement around the Gungahlin Town Centre East. We've had a busy couple of months throughout October and November doing a range of pop-ups through the Celebrate Gungahlin Festival. We did some online workshops, some face-to-face workshops that unfortunately with the time of year just didn't get as many people there as we would have liked. So we did slip over and move some of that material over into an additional survey, and we've done 2 different surveys with our community panel that are in place as well. So we've gathered and captured quite a lot of feedback over the last 2 months, and we've got Jen here from Studio THI who are working on our place ambition. So she's going to walk you through the engagement so far, what we've heard and what's sort of emerging coming out of that. And then we've got a Benjamin here from Hill Thallis who are looking after our place and design framework, which is the document that will follow that and start to explore what some of the elements of the place ambition are looking like in a more design implications as we move through. We have taken a pause for Christmas over our active engagement phases. We will be releasing, hopefully by Friday, our listening report, our full listening report from the last couple of months, so anyone who is interested can jump online and have a read of the full report. And we're also gearing up for what February will look like for us. At this point in time, we're looking at holding some workshops in February again, so another workshop that will start to dive more into Ben's space of the work and look at some of the design implications coming out from the place ambition work that we've been doing. So hopefully we can get as many people as possible along to that one as well. We're also jumping out to the Celebrate Gungahlin festival event that was cancelled earlier on at the Sports and Wellbeing Expo, which is quite well timed now for our second phase. So we'll jump out at there as a pop-up as well and talk to as many people as we can out there. So I'll hand over to Jen because we do have a fair few slides. We will have to move through them a little bit quickly, but please be rest assured a lot of this content will be available on Your Say by the end of the week. You just need to talk into the
I've
little...
got this one.
Oh, you
so
got
maybe
one.
I can hand one to Ben.
I use these at university too.
Oh, I've never used these, so this is all very new. I'm also very out of practice of doing face-to-face presentations, I have to say, because everyone's laughing, but it's actually, we haven't done them for a really long time, so please be kind. And for online people, this is even the more challenging of the hybrid. So I'm Jen Mitchamore from Studio THI. We've been working with Communication Link to run the engagement program here at Gungahlin Town Centre East. So as you can see, we're in the process of pulling together all that engagement data and capturing it in a place ambition document, which is talking to what the Gungahlin community has told us they want from the Gungahlin Town Centre East project. And then we're kind of here at the moment. So unfortunately, we're sort of in a bit of not no man's land, we're in the baton handover area between some of the technical study the design team have been doing and some of the work we've been finding. So it's actually quite a good crossover point in where we're at the moment. Next slide, please. Or do you have a clicker that I could? No, that's okay. So as Nicole briefly mentioned, we've captured about 220 voices, so we really worked very hard to try and adjust our engagement program to meet the needs of people, so we quickly put a lot of our stuff into self-paced and online. So we did a Future Shapers survey with the community panel, we did a Future Thinking panel, we did a Place Ambitions survey, we went to a number of pop-ups at the Gungahlin Festival. The Gungahlin College invited us in to run a session with their young people, which was really fantastic and got some really different views from that group, which has been a really great benefit to have in this process, and we're looking at how we can keep that going throughout the process because they really had some really different views, which was fantastic to hear. And we did some community workshops online and face-to-face, and then we did some stakeholder engagements as well. So that's kind of an overview of the program, which we will, in the engagement report, we'll have a detailed understanding of each of those groups we spoke to. Now, what I did want to highlight here is that the ACT government have invested in setting up the community panel for Gungahlin, which is a demographic representative sample of the Gungahlin community of approximately 100 people. And we've really drawn on that in this process, which has meant we've really heard from quite a diverse group of people. So as you can see here in the Future Shaper survey respondents of the community panel, we actually heard from 26%, 41 people, but 26% of those were 25 to 34. And I know that probably in most of your engagement exercises, you're probably not seeing those kinds of people engage often. So we were really happy with the diversity of people, and having the community panel there was a really great way to actually hear some of those different views, which has been great. Next slide, please. So in the terms of the engagement process, we really were looking to understand what do people value about Gungahlin. There's a few smiles going on there. What do people value about Gungahlin today? What does that mean the town centre could start thinking about? What's the current town centre's performance and what some of the gaps are or things that people would like to learn from that place? And then what do we want to see in Gungahlin Town Centre East in the future? So that was the structure of all those engagement activities we did, and we were kind of varying the inputs and how we did that. So the first part is, Gungahlin today, boring. There's family-friendly, nature. That nature element of Gungahlin was a very strong thing that came through quite a lot. When people gave us their great places in Gungahlin, they talked about all of the local area Mulligan's Flats and other nature-based things. And then their main urban place they talked about wasn't the town centre, but it was actually civic. So in terms of some of the kind of other places they're going to within the city, it wasn't necessarily locally. Next slide, please. We asked a question throughout all the engagement program. If you had a magic wand and add anything to Gungahlin District, what would you add? So vibrancy at night was a really big thing that came out. It was really strongly spoken about in the young audiences, so young professionals and also the young college students as well. So this vibrancy at night, and it wasn't necessarily very late night, but it was early evenings for families as well, was something people were really wanting. So how can maybe the Gungahlin Town Centre East capture till 9, 10 p.m. at night? So that evenings was really something quite important. And there's a lot of discussion about quality design and planning outcomes. So how do we actually drive great architectural outcomes and points of interest and things in here that actually differentiate Gungahlin and actually have some iconic and great architecture. People talked about employment opportunities, which I'm sure is something that I know you're all discussing, but they also spoke about employment opportunities in a very wide range. So looking at a lot of people were still working from home or were going to be permanently working like that. So what is the different types of workspaces they might want that actually allowed that to happen? There was a lot of discussion around sports and community facilities, was very much a need here. More markets and community program. People felt that there was a need for community events, and things like the Celebrate Gungahlin Festival had just been happening, so people really loved that those sorts of things are in their community and kind of want more of that all the time. Better transport. The light rail was great, but people said you can't actually get around then within the district, so how can the transport be improved there? And also this concept of having more neighbourhoods that were a mix of use. So actually had places you could live and work and play, and actually thinking about more mixed use neighbourhoods instead of just residential areas or employment areas was another thing that people talked about in the district generally. Next slide, please. And I will move a little bit quicker through some of this. One of the questions we ask is how attached do you feel to a place? Now, a town centre, from the work we do, really is a place that the community should feel proud about. They should feel attached to it. They should want to celebrate it. And when we ask people how they felt about Gungahlin Town Centre, the place attachment is really low. So people find it very functional. And it's very functional, it meets your needs, but in terms of this level of sense of pride and ownership over it, it was quite low. And when we do place-based work, and particularly centres, you would really love to see that a lot higher than that. So that was quite an interesting outcome from our point of view in terms of how people spoke about the centre and their level of attachment to it. Next slide, thanks. So just quickly, I won't go into it too much, but because this is in the report. So in terms of what the town centre doesn't do well today, so people talked about it's not particularly vibrant or interesting, affordable to live as a renter or to purchase. There's not many diversity of businesses, but also diversity of employment. It didn't really contribute to their sense of pride. It lacked people-focused streets, so people actually talked about this need for people-focused streets and they wanted them. Some iconic features, so this real interesting way to actually showcase what's there, and celebrate the cultural heritage. So they didn't feel it really showcased the cultural diversity within Gungahlin, but also your Ngunnawal culture as well. In terms of the things it does deliver on today, most of them are just functional things. So it's there, it's functional, I can access, and it has great things in it. Next, please. So in terms of some of the concerns, this development might actually, we did talk to people about what do you think a project like this could exacerbate or make worse, and what are some of the opportunities for this area. So traffic concerns and stress and parking, that's obviously one that comes up all the time. Placing further stress on already stressed out community facilities, and so this need again for more of those. Getting the balance right between live, work and play, and it was real conscious discussion around how do we actually look at getting that balance right. How we integrate it with surrounding neighbourhoods, how we attract a diversity of retail offer into this, and so there's some of the discussions we just heard before about the marketplace, and how do we actually safeguard or translate a plan into a great urban outcome. So people were very conscious of talking about we have a great plan, but then how do we get great outcomes as well? So that was some of the things that people were concerned about. In terms of some of the things people were really excited about, they really wanted spaces for community connection and designed for public life, and they felt that that's really lacking in Gungahlin today, and how can this development do that? More community facilities, how can they connect to the surrounding neighbourhoods? Increased employment was also really important, and again, that need for really pedestrian-focused and compact places was really what they were after. An ability to go to more than one thing in one trip as well. So instead of just being able to go somewhere for one thing, you could actually go to multiple locations all in one place in a comfortable, easy walk and explore as well. So next slide, thanks. So when we then started talking about the future opportunities around Gungahlin Town Centre East, we presented people with a series of key attributes of great town centres, and we'd drawn these from a global benchmarking study we'd done on great suburban town centres, and we came up with 12 key attributes that are in all these places, and what we asked people to do is prioritise the ones that are really important to them. What was really surprising to us is this compact, accessible and connected came up as a key priority. So easy to get to, move around, prioritises walking, cycling and public transport, and was easy to do that and was enjoyable to do that. Also that was quite high was promotes resilience and reuse. So this concept of actually being environmentally conscious, future focused, and actually supported people to be more environmentally conscious in the design and outcome was something else that came very high. A range of retail options, a variety of community amenities, so this was a really strong theme. But what also we found, particularly with young people, this celebrates the local culture, but also Ngunnawal culture came up as a really important theme for people in the young people that were at Gungahlin College, but also young professionals. It was something that was really emerging as a theme that people were really wanting to see addressed in this place. And also linking in some way to this stronger sense of place and identity, and actually it should be reflecting the Gungahlin community, and how do we start doing that in the design as well. Next slide, thank you. So then we did a visioning activity with everyone. So we did some of them online, we did some of them face-to-face. The students, I wish I had a picture of the students doing up here. Actually, I've got a great picture of Nicole doing it, actually, because I made the SLA team do this as well. So everyone can do this exercise. But what we did is gave people a predetermined list of images and a predetermined set of words, and they put those together to create a collage of the type of place they wanted to see Gungahlin East become. And what you can see in the images is that it's very sociable and has a lot of very much community-focused public realm where people can gather, be with each other, and in quite compact ways. So you can see this sort of image here is actually a little grass area with buildings quite around it, and this kind of very urban experience. Things that are very textural and exciting, points of interest. So actually doing some of these beautiful imagery with different types of textures and things that they're seeing. This was interesting. It's a hawker market in Singapore. So this image got picked up quite a lot because people were saying that kind of reflects the diversity in different ways we might want to eat and experience things. And so I was surprised that image came up as strongly as it did. The other thing that people really wanted around was intergenerational play, so the ability to play together and have this kind of regional play focus maybe to some of the things. So particularly looking here, that this image was picked with people in wheelchairs, and having these community amenities like outdoor libraries. Another one that came up a lot too, particularly with young people, was dog parks. Really strong thing that came up is how you actually could have dog parks as well in this location. Next slide, thanks. I won't go into this too much, but what we started to then do is for each of those themes, people determined a set of deliverables that they'd like to potentially see in the town centre. What we were quite interested to see is that a lot of stuff came out about really different types of living offers to really diversify what's available here in Gungahlin. So, for instance, some of the young people were talking about more co-living or these types of apartment buildings that had a much greater focus on community and social amenities within your buildings and a much clearer understanding of that. Also, social and community housing came up, and again, this kind of concept of having live, work, play neighbourhoods in Gungahlin was something that particularly young people were really wanting to see. The other bit that's probably worth highlighting is just this kind of desire for this amount of community amenities, and that the community amenity was one of the key destinational anchors for this place. So actually layering up a whole lot of different community facilities and opportunity there was seen as a key important feature of the place. Next slide, thanks. So we have pulled together all that information into 3 core place pillars, we're calling it. So they're some of the things that we will then start working with the design team to start translating into the actual design of the precinct. So the first one, and I've got to find a new word for biophilic design. For me, this means, and Ben would know what this is too, but this is fresh off the press, by the way, too. So you're the first people seeing this at Gungahlin Council. So the first theme is around Indigenous biophilic design. So biophilic design is a very specific design strategy to bring back in birds, bees, butterflies, and natural systems into the urban environment. So it's a very specific design strategy that people globally are drawing on. And in this instance, a lot of people were telling us they really wanted the green urban experience, and also how that could be linked to the Ngunnawal culture and Indigenous plants and other things in this area, and how could that differentiate Gungahlin Town Centre. The other part that people said very strongly that this place had to do was this destination for community and public life. So that would be its key destinational anchor, not necessarily a retail shop or a particular brand, but the destinational part of it was around the community and the community coming together. And there was a whole list of potential things that people would like to have in that, which included a library, community facilities, dog parks, intergenerational playground. It was a very long list. Even if you get 3 of those, that would be great. So, but this idea that you're creating an anchor that is around public life is really important. And the next part was this future-ready mixed-use neighbourhood, so looking at testing different kind of work options through from co-working through to startup manufacturing, smart manufacturing hubs. There's a whole lot of things that come up there. And also in terms of new ways of living as well. So being really conscious that we're this future-ready neighbourhood. And part of that also meant having things like pedestrian-only areas, really compact urban experience, and actually being very conscious of streets and street design. So any questions? I have no idea of the time. I should. So 18-hour place is that kind of going into that, it was working, it's not 24 hours because I didn't think that, from what we heard from the community, this is not going to be somewhere you're at 2 a.m. in the morning. But the idea of the 18-hour place, instead of just being an 8-hour destination during business hours, it actually is busy and has a vibrancy over 18 hours. So from 7 a.m. through to, I'm trying to think of when the 18 hours is, but so that it actually has that vibrancy and some level of activity happening in it over a period of time. Yeah. Oh, sorry, do I need to? I need to share, yeah. Take it off.
They actually grab from quite a distance, so
Okay.
it'll have you
I
covered.
don't have to hug you.
It'll
Oh,
have you
that's a
covered.
shame.
Look, that's really encouraging, actually, what you've found there. That's really, really good. The worry, of course, is how the hell do you actually get it to be implemented?
Yep.
But probably even more importantly, how do you ensure that it's going to continue? It's all very well for LDA to come in here, the planners to come in and plan it. So this is all going to be lovely. LDA to come in and set it up, and let's assume we get it like what you've imagined. How are we going to make sure that it continues and doesn't deteriorate, if you like?
And I suppose the first step of that, I turned to SLA for the broad answer, but the first step of that is actually having a really great design team that come in and put a very strong design in place, framework in place, which is we've been working alongside them and actually putting some metrics in around those kinds of things. Beyond that, I'd have to.
We're really buoyed. We've undertaken the Crimson Right design and place framework for the SLA and the Whitlam Local Centre as well before coming to this project, and they've both been received very well. And there is a good momentum. And we've been able to work things into these place documents now that perhaps weren't happening in other areas before.
Yeah, I guess actually what I'm really trying to say is how do you ensure that the community can continue, the social aspects of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, we produce a lovely environment and what have you, but it doesn't work unless people are there and enjoying
People have to want to be there.
right?
That's exactly right.
And want to be there, and how do you make sure, how do we make sure that happens?
Activate the public anchor somehow. So I think that public, because looking around the other Gungahlin places, I don't know if they've really been designed as a purposefully anchoring the social and community component of it. And I think that being a very specific part of the strategy and the design is going to be very important, but also you as a community activating that, putting things on there, doing the calendar of events and programs, but that's a bit further down the track. But I think the design part of that and actually having an anchor of those community facilities is a helpful part of that. But
Yeah, I guess it's really about, okay, we've got place design, but how do we get social design?
Yes.
Not that we want to put people...
It's an interesting double meaning into that, isn't it?
Yeah. I know.
I think we'll get into that a little bit,
Yes.
and let's continue that same discussion. It's funny, I think the old adage that variety is the spice of life is what you want, that sustainable places that are socially sustainable have something for everyone, and they offer choice.
this
And
is
that's
where we then
something we
move
really need
into-
to embed.
We've now been, obviously, as we've been developing this, the design team are doing some of their technical studies as well. So this is where our work's starting to work together and synergise.
So
I
we're
suppose.
behind Jen because we're wanting to get the consultation to inform then how we approach. So hi for everybody I haven't met. My name is Benjamin Driver. I'm the Lecturer of Urban Development and Design at UNSW, and I am retained with Health Alice for projects such as this. This is my shtick. What we are doing is starting with an understanding of the physical place. So a whole half of a town centre that is unmade is something you don't ever see in any Australian city. Canberra uniquely has a couple of these places, so it's a very unique opportunity. It's not necessarily something that's grown over 200 or 300 years in an organic way like a lot of our much-loved centres have. So it does need a different set of ingredients to build up that social mix, that cultural mix, in a much more compressed fashion. But you have so many wonderful things going for you. You already have a light rail with 2 stops here. You are connected to the centre of Canberra much better than any of the other centres. So there are some natural advantages which are really, really great to start with. Thanks. When we start looking at the physical layout, but also the open space, for instance, there is quite a lot of open space, but it's not all necessarily usable. So when we're doing these physical analyses, what we're starting to look at is what's actually on offer and what is the physical place actually like. So we're very keen, and we go to the next one, to understand how this place sits and how we connect, first starting with topography, climate, and then building up to the made place or the city. One thing that's really noticeable, and after the heavy rain, there is a pond that has accumulated on the north side of Flemington Road. That has happened because there's a bit of a dam with the way that the road was made and the levels were changed. What we're very interested in is the fact that it's there. It's very, very interesting. We did Hassett Park in Campbell Section 5 as well, re-engineering the creek, and to look at the life that has come and the animals that are living and breeding in that within a couple of years is astronomical.
I mean the one that was previously drained at one stage?
No?
I was pretty sure that there was a pond that's near the light rail.
No, Hassett Park in Campbell.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean this one here? I was talking about the water system that we did in Hassett Park in Campbell has really good applications here. You have a very similar fall and gentle fall across the land.
I watched it drained once before somebody came in and literally pumped the water.
Someone
out of it.
pumped it, right? Okay,
Yeah,
I hadn't seen that. Right.
They killed all the frogs and everything, and I raised it with Shane Rattenbury at the time.
Well, so
Wasn't that in Harrison?
No, it was on Flemington Road. There's near where the light rail, there's a big cage
the-
that's sort of
near
built
the
there.
depot?
It's got kind of like the. Yeah, it was really nice. There was frogs and all sorts of things, and somebody came in and drained it. And,
it is amazing how quickly animals find water by themselves. But what we're very interested in, and what the topography is starting to tell us on this site, is that actually the site drains very much to the east and then comes round through here. Our first feeling of the site was that the linear park must drain it, or the highlighted linear park. In fact, it doesn't. The linear park drains for a point and actually moves east, and the whole southern part or southwestern part of the site has its own catchment. So we're very interested in how there is a holistic system of water that utilises the linear park, but actually we're going to have to utilise the east-west streets for water-sensitive urban design to actually cleanse the water before we release it, obviously, into the creek. So the more hard surface we build, we're going to have much more water leaving the site than currently does, because it won't soak in the same way. So it's very interesting starting with such a big site like this. that leads us to the next level down of that landscape connection we talk about. And so the linear park is partially set out and links from Mulligan's Flat to the grasslands, but at the moment there's a couple of obstacles in the way. If we wanted to be up at Mulligan's Flat and look through the site, there's a couple of boundaries that aren't particularly well aligned. There's a substation right in the view of the linear park, and again a couple of other boundaries. So we haven't done the next stage yet, but what we're very interested in doing is looking how we can rationalise edges, make active edges so we don't get any dead fences to the park, but actually make this as part of a holistic system so that there's a very clear landscape strategy that actually welcomes through the centre. Next one, please. The light rail. Major advantage that you have that other centres don't have. We're very keen to understand then, with the 2 stations you've got, how walkable is the place currently to these 2 stops? The darkest pink is within the 200 metre, medium is 400, 800 metres. We normally use 400 metres for 5 minutes, 800 metres for 10 minutes walk. Very interesting, this whole southern portion of the site is not within 5 minutes walk of a light rail station. You wouldn't have thought that. And actually what that lends itself to is helping us understand how big the site is. It is ginormous. So one thing, and the next slide, if we may, will lead to this, is the block size and the walkability that is generated by block size. What we know in the existing half of the town centre is there's a lot of big box retail. Big boxes are big, but some of the blocks get down to very interesting walkable sizes, including many of these blocks are highly walkable, what we call highly walkable, depending on their proportions. But these blocks in particular are ginormous. So in terms of what that analysis is suggesting to us is we need more laneways, we need more linear parks, walkthroughs. We actually don't need any more major streets. Often, working a lot in Sydney, there's not enough street. In Canberra, you have a lot of street area. So actually, we're not looking to make any more major streets because you've got about 35% street of the study area. That's a really good benchmark that we often set in urban projects. What we need then is a much finer grain to let people wander gently through the blocks and to really open up that walkability, but also the more frontage you get, the more activity you get. And so it's all connected into those metrics. Next, please. We then start to look at the conditions for pedestrians just crossing the street. In the eastern half, there are a lot of free left turns, which let vehicles come round at speed. They become much more difficult for pedestrians to cross. They have to cross in 3 different functions rather than a single function straight across. So in fact, there's quite a lot of good crossing points, especially around the plaza, which is great, but we're not getting that in the east. So there is public domain upgrades we would be very keen to pursue in order to make the place much more appealing to walk. As soon as walking becomes difficult, people go for the car. So we want people to leave the car at home because they want to walk. Also then the spread of community facilities. So there are a couple of playgrounds around, a couple of surgeries, there's obviously the college, there's a couple of daycares. We know there are no community facilities in this part yet, of course, because it's unbuilt. But what we are seeing is this starting to become a nice array of community facilities developing in the western half. We want to complement over here. So we want to learn from what's existing, what's possible. So in any instance of the work we do, we don't want to pull out or compete with the western half of the centre. We want it to complement and to add to and be additive and to actually offer more variety. In the same instance, building types. We can see a lot of very large format retail, some finer different pieces, but in fact really that eastern half has very much what we might call a monoculture of detached housing. We're not getting enough variety, and so we know in centres are great because they do everything. And so we're very interested then to know what that walking catchment is to support future employment and retail in this part of the town centre. And so it's a bit more limited here, whereas there's a little bit more density happening, but not a mixed use. So again, we learn from this to inform us about how we might propose building types and program and uses. Same again with building heights. So how does the city modulate itself over height? Type versus height, we get density, program together. They make some very interesting metrics. Final one is car parking. you have a lot. You actually have a huge amount of car parking. What we're very keen to understand is it structured car parking? Is it surface? Because obviously the town centre is still developing, so some of the surface will be future development blocks, some of them will be structured in different developments. So again, how do we make it integrated as a system, and how do you integrate it so that it doesn't kill frontages, but it actually complements? And actually interesting, you can have car parks as early activation, make them convertible over time. So whereas you might not get certain building types demanding now, you could have car parks. We've just done one in Campbelltown for the station and new metro. It's convertible to an office building over time. So higher floor levels, the ramp gets cut off, so the building embodied energy that's gone into the car park doesn't get demolished. It actually is a sustainable method of sort of predating further program over time. So they're all the things we're interested in investigating. But we like to learn from the metrics of successful urban places, either in Australia or overseas. Victoria Park is one. Now, Victoria Park is not a town centre. It is peripheral to the Green Square town centre, so doesn't have as much mixed use. But what it does have, very interestingly, is a really well integrated mixed use shopping centre. Highly walkable blocks, and in fact, almost an identical area to the Gungahlin town centre. So what we're interested in, how many blocks, how many buildings, how much mixed use, and what are those uses? Next, please. We did, as a package for the government architect in New South Wales, 30 different urban projects across Australia, and we mapped them all. We pulled out all of the different metrics, and we look at the development over time, especially because absolutely what we're dealing with, what is the time frame of such a project like this? Those benchmarks I talked about are proven through decades and decades of successful urban projects. Next, please. Victoria Park is Zetland, which is peripheral to Green Square town centre in Sydney. It was a shared project between Lancome, which was the New South Wales developer, and the City of Sydney, and is one of the most successful urban places, you'd have to say, in urban Australia. So really good measurements. And so we understand what is the block density, well, how are the crossing points set out, how many parks, what are their sizes, what are their types, and block proportions, walkability versus not. Next, please. If we put Victoria Park's blocks and parks over this site, look how many blocks we've got. So again, realising how big this site is in Gungahlin, and actually how do we start to get fineness? How do we get that additional frontage? How do we let people meander through blocks? Not just big streets, but try and find some intimate, smaller local spaces. Thanks, please. Another interesting one that we have pulled up recently is Adern. We've pulled this one up because, again, it's a very similar size. This is peripheral to Melbourne city centre, so it has a little bit more of an employment and education base where Victoria Park didn't. So we're very interested to understand something that's got more mixed use and employment. Similar again, if we might go to the next. Very similar area, very similar, some tiny, really great urban little blocks, but several different parks of different sizes and character. So that's something we've noticed here. We'll go to the next. Just before we get onto these ones, the plaza in the main street works pretty well. We've got some really big grasslands around the town centre, but what we're noticing is there's not actually a major square proportioned green space in Gungahlin at all. And so we're very keen for the linear park to try and fill and plug some of those park types. So you have a lot of open space, but not all of it's usable. The grasslands are somewhat quarantined, if you know what I mean. So then, how do we activate these spaces? How do we make a heart to a town centre? Libraries are one of those wonderful things we look at. Now, library in the sense of it being a social hub of everything. Not the library traditionally we know of, the room with books and the counter at the front, because libraries have become the social hub of places. So it can include many things, including daycare, community rooms, like we're in at the moment. There are several, there's been a renaissance in urban Australia of investment, either at Docklands in Melbourne, Marrickville, which has won many awards recently, and Surrey Hills, which is my local. It's amazing to see, even when the library's closed, there are students sitting down along here at night on their laptops using the free Wi-Fi even when the library's closed. So there is a nightlife that's generated from the building when it's not even open. Next, please. Indoor sports, more active recreation. What might they offer? And so a number of local, but even international, wonderful Japanese example. So these buildings aren't just a big shed like we might be used to. They actually have space associated with them. They create a huge amount of demand from outside of the area. So they're actually starting to make that what we might call a destination. And final one. And markets. We don't do it very well in Australia. We have markets once a week, and really you need 2 or 3 days a week so you can get fresh food reliably. So wouldn't it be great to sort of instill or build that culture a little bit more? Now, they could either be standalone or integrated into another building. So for instance, a car park that might be convertible over time might actually have the whole ground floor as a market. So there's all sorts of ways we could do it. Some of these are very big, Barcelona, big city examples. So how can we learn from them but make it place-based here? So that's very much what we're interested in getting into pursue. So that's January for us. The other thing is play. And so as soon as you make a regional destination and play, parents and babies flock. All of a sudden, you're starting to build local culture, and again, you're adding to the destination. So,
and our 75-year-old lady who wanted to go on a flying fox even when she didn't have her grandchildren with her. So she wanted to be able to go to a park.
that was really interesting. She wanted to feel confident to go to a park without kids and not feel that people would think she was weird, wasn't it? Yeah.
She wanted to play.
So I suppose that's about inclusion, and actually, when I explain to my students, we talk about the cities are the most democratic creation we have. When they work for everyone, they work well. When they don't work for everybody, they fail. And so for people to feel welcome is one of the things. So what you'll see in all of these examples is the quality of the public domain, the quality of the built environment. So that's something that we are very, very keen to uphold. And we want that to be integrated into the public domain generally, not fenced, and integrated with water. We want to celebrate Australia's capital, dry climate. We want to celebrate water in a hot place.
What comes out of what you just said is that
I know. Okay.
what comes out of what you've just said is that we're going to have a lot more community space than is currently envisaged.
The site being big, and the linear park is big too, there is good area. So we're not there yet, but we're going to we want to understand for each piece of the linear park, when it's wider or when it's thinner, what program can it take? So spaces that aren't proportioned in certain ways can't do certain things. And you do have a lot of street space. So the other thing we want to do is how can we actually re-engineer that street space? And actually the southern side of Flemington Road and the Valley Way are almost like linear parks themselves. So it's the programming as well. And
But what I'm getting at is some of the things that we've seen is that they say, well, the community space is going to be on level 3 of this big building. Right?
I have students do this, and I say to them, you're not going to get everyone to go up there. Actually, it needs to be at the ground floor. It needs to be on a corner. It needs to be on the street.
On the public square.
Absolutely, absolutely. I have students do that and say, are you going to go up there? They sort of go, oh. So like downstairs, where you can activate, where you can draw people in from the street.
But that's what we've seen so far, is that community space is scattered. It's not concentrated. It's not planned in that sort of way, right? So we have some great facilities.